What is up, everybody? It is the Team Europe Ryder Cup reaction show on Golf on CBS YouTube channel. I'm Shane Bacon. That is Patrick McDonald. Patrick, I'm wearing my Europe blue.
Oh,
Not a lot of surprises on this roster of 12 for Luke Donald. Obviously, we've had Rory, Fleetwood, Hatton, Rasmus Højgaard, Bobby Mack, and Justin Rose qualifying. The picks now coming in the floor was set, the screens were set, the Zooms looked better than Team USA. No surprise there. And we are rolling with John Rahm, Shane Lowry, Sepp Straka, Ludwig Ober, whatever
nice.
you want to say, Victor Hovland, and Matt Fitzpatrick to fill out the 12. Looks very much like what we saw in Rome for Luke Donald's team.
You could argue, Shane, it looks the exact same as you saw
Almost.
in Rome. If you want to play the twin card there, being identical, Rasmus and Nikolai. But no surprises, like you mentioned. I think maybe some concern with the form of Sepp Straka and Shane Lowry, but felt like once Rasmus locked in that spot there with that top 20 finish, that it was pretty much going to be running back that team for Marco Simone. So felt like Luke Donald had I don't want to say easy job, but a pretty easy job picking this team. But as Josh mentioned in the chat, Marco Penge, potential snub. Ari All, our guy, the silent H, potential snub. And, Matt Wallace. I watched that interview over the weekend.
Yep.
Didn't get to watch too much golf, but saw that. And, we'll see if down the line he gets to participate in one of these. But pretty much set in stone for a while, it feels like.
Yeah, it feels like all those guys you mentioned basically got shoved because of the play as of late from Rasmus Højgaard and Matt Fitzpatrick. Those were two players that maybe weren't totally in form, let's call it 3, 4, 5 months ago, especially Matt Fitzpatrick, really coming on strong, I believe, from the PGA Championship on. Fitzpatrick was somebody well off our radar when we started doing this around Augusta time and around the PGA Championship. And then he has just been really, really solid golf. We're going to get to Matt Fitzpatrick in a bit. I've got a few notes on Mr. Fitzpatrick as I was diving into some of the numbers. But when you look at these two teams now, obviously with the Americans having 4 rookies, and we reacted to that. If you missed the show last week, you can dive into the YouTubes there. We reacted to the 12 on the U.S. side as well. And that is obviously, and you see it here, Scotty Scheffler, J.J. Spawn, Xander, Russell Henley, Harris English, Bryson qualifying, and then Justin Thomas, Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Cam Young, Patrick Cantlay, and Sam Burns on the team. No Keegan, obviously the big story really from all of these picks, I think, across both boards. And we're going to power rank the 24 here in just a little bit as well. But I think when you look at these two teams, Patrick, you have experience on the European side. Obviously, a big part of that, 11 of the 12 have played in the Ryder Cup before. I have the records, by the way, Team Europe of these 12, 59, 50, and 19 all-time. Team USA, 26, 22, and 8 all-time. Okay. A lot more matches played on the European side, especially with that experience from guys like Rory playing in his 8th, Justin Rose playing in his 7th, and Rahm 4, Fitzpatrick 4, and I think Hatton and Fleetwood both with 4 as well. And you look at the American side, not a lot of experience there outside of Justin Thomas. All of that being said, I think when you're talking about the factors here, experience favors the Europeans, and of course the home soil, as we've talked so much about, favors Team USA and Bethpage Black.
I think so. And I would say you look at that experience, though, and on the U.S. alone, it's not like it's been great for some of these Europeans either. Shane Lowry was at Whistling Straits. Victor Hovland was at Whistling Straits. Ludwig, this will be his first one in the U.S. Sepp Straka, his first one in the U.S. And I'm sure you're going to eventually get to Matt Fitzpatrick's play in U.S. Ryder Cups as well.
Just in Ryder Cups in general, by the way. But yes, we'll get to that.
Yes, not fun for him. I mean, and he's a Chicago guy too. So you would think he'd be pretty comfortable in the big city. Maybe it changes this year in New York for him. But I think this will ultimately come down to, you've mentioned that you think the U.S. team is kind of like an international team. I think where it's like top heavy. I kind of think the Europeans are like that, where they're going to run out their known commodities of those pairings of Rory Fleetwood, of Rahm and Hatton, of Bobby McEnroe and 4-ball, of Hovland and
Ludwig.
Yeah, Hovland and Oberg in foursomes. And I think, meanwhile, on the U.S. team, they probably will run Scotty out 5 times and maybe Bryson 2. And then outside of that, I think it's a lot of unknown, which is interesting. But I think their consistency on the back end of their team is much stronger. The form is compared to this European side. And then you also add in the home soil advantage too. So I think it'll really come down to the upside of Europe versus the consistency of US. And if Keegan Bradley can kind of match his pairings up better than what Luke Donald pretty much already has known.
Yeah, Luke Donald has the pairings. You mentioned
Yeah.
a few of them. You even left off Sepp and Shane Lowry, which again is a tough one to put out right now in terms of their form. But they did pair up well in Rome. Of course, that's a couple of years ago. Who knows what they end up doing there on this golf course? Maybe a little bit different than what we saw in Marco a couple of years ago. Obviously, on the European side of things, that was kind of one probably noted or penciled in for Luke Donald a few months ago. Might not be somebody he leans on this time around, but you got to play somebody, right? And I think that's going to be an important part of this. It'll be interesting if he goes Rory, Tommy, and foursomes, and then Rory and Fitzy and four balls, kind of like they did in Rome. That seemed to be a recipe for success. Rory having his best Ryder Cup ever a couple of years ago, and then proclaiming, and I forgot about this line. I know it's been floating around on social, saying the hardest thing in golf right now is to win an away Ryder Cup. And he said, we are going to do that at Bethpage Black. I like the confidence. The guys were beating on the table after. It felt like a soccer or football club, after a big win and one of the cups. But it was a good line, I thought, from Rory, considering what happened at Whistling Straits, kind of the broken man, and then he rolled into Rome and played incredible golf. You mentioned some of the experience, and you said Scotty. I mean, if you don't play Scotty 5 matches, what are you doing? I think Bryson's going to play a lot of golf. His Ryder Cup record's fine, 2-3-1, nothing to write home about, but I think Bryson's one of those players on this golf course that's going to be extremely effective. And then Justin Thomas is that question mark, but has been so good in Ryder Cups over the years, obviously front-loaded in terms of the way he's played there. That being said, it's easy to sleep on Xander Cantlay, right? Yeah. These are two dudes that you're going to roll out if you're Keegan Bradley, and you're going to at least put out there on Friday, probably in both matches, to see what you can do and to see if that magic is lit once again. And if it is, that's the duo I think that could lead the Americans to another win in home soil. Those are the two, to me, the big question marks, with Cantlay being so good in Ryder Cups and Xander kind of being, his Robin to what Cantlay has been in terms of the Batman.
Yeah, if they're making putts, I think that's the question mark I have for that duo. Is I think they're 4-4 together across the 2 Ryder Cups that they've played before this. Both of them are coming off the worst putting seasons of their careers, which, if they're making putts, you run them out all 5 sessions with the way those guys can hit the golf ball. And I'm with you. I think Justin Thomas is ultimately going to be the X factor in this Ryder Cup. If he's playing like Justin Thomas, confident, cocky with his iron play, twirling every single approach shot like he does, kind of barking at the crowd, barking at the Europeans, then I think he's going to really lead this U.S. team. And Shane, it's interesting. I looked, he's played in 10 matches, I believe, in his Ryder Cup history, 10 team matches. 9 of them have been with Jordan Spieth.
Wow.
So where do you go with him? The other was a tie with Patrick Cantlay in 21. I know I obviously want Bryson with him, but it'll be interesting to see who they roll out with JT.
I got to be honest. I love what you've said with Bryson. I was going to bring that up. I just feel like that is put him out first on Friday and get everybody excited. I mean, who isn't excited if they're looking on paper, if they're hearing the announcements from the captains before that first match and hearing Justin Thomas and Bryson, in terms of getting people involved, those are the two, because this is a relatively muted American team in terms of energy. Xander's not firing up a crowd massively. Cantlay, he has, and he can, even more maybe with his antics with his game. But, I mean, on down the list, Sam Burns isn't that guy, right? They could do it with their play. That's obviously a part of it. But Ben Griffin, Colin, Cam Young, Russell Henley, right? These aren't guys that are Jordan Spieths that are out there, pumping it up and raising the roof. This isn't Max Homa out there doing that. Somebody's going to have to do that right off the bat for the Americans. Somebody's going to have to shotgun the beer. And Justin Thomas has seemed to be that guy. And I feel like Bryson alongside him could be the duo that we would be talking about Sunday night as the American superstars and heroes of this Ryder Cup. I've loved you pitching that. You pitched that months ago.
Early.
In terms of something.
Early adopters here.
Yeah, and I just think that's so brilliant. I think that's so fun. And I think that's something that Keegan's really got to consider. I know it's experience, and you're leaning on 2 experienced players in the Ryder Cup, but it's also points, and that's what you're going after. And if you throw a couple rookies out there I think the rookies playing together on home soil way easier than them doing it in Europe. And I think there's opportunity there to do that. But I really hope that we at least see JT and Bryson in a match to see what they can do.
Yeah, especially that first hole too at Bethpage Black. Bryson's going to be hitting the first drive. You just already know that.
Do it.
Yeah, easy enough.
Send it over the corner. Like, take it on, man. I want to take an aggressive line. Patrick, I want to say this because I think it's important because there's not a lot of surprises on the European side. I don't think there's somebody we thought was left off. You mentioned a couple names. They were not making this team. No. This was the 12, right? But I think people need to understand one thing here. There's an opportunity if Matt Fitzpatrick plays poorly in this Ryder Cup for Matt Fitzpatrick to go down as the worst Ryder Cupper of all time. He's already in that category, right? He is 1-7-0 in his career at Ryder Cups. Let me say that again. 1-7-0. The only match he's won was alongside Rory McIlroy in Rome. 0-3 in singles. Those losses have been, I have it here, Max in Rome, he lost to. Daniel Berger at Whistling Straits got drummed by Zach Johnson. It's Hazeltine. And by the way, he hadn't played with rookies. He's played with Rory, Lee Westwood, and Henrik Stenson in his career. The numbers for Matt Fitzpatrick, 12.5% winning percentage. That is the worst number on the board of anybody in modern Ryder Cups. The only player really close to that number, Fuzzy Zeller on the American side, played in 3 Ryder Cups, 1-8-1. Marco Mira was not great, 4-9-1. But if Fitzy lays an egg here, you are legitimately talking about a guy with the worst record in the history of European Ryder Cups, including American players. And there are guys that didn't win points. They all played in 1 Ryder Cup, and that's it. So for Fitzpatrick, this is a big spot, a captain's pick. He has started to find form, but if he doesn't play well here, this has been Crenshaw's PGA Tour playoff record style bad. And for Matt Fitzpatrick, I'd say of all the pressure of anybody on the European team, outside of maybe Rory and Rahm as the leaders, for Fitzpatrick, he's got to show up and play some decent golf.
Yeah, and I think Josh brings up a good point where his first 2 Ryder Cups, it's not like Europe was really humming either as a whole. Whistling Straits, the record score differential there between the U.S. and Europe, but a major champion.
Still lost.
A guy who's in great form, like you mentioned, 0-5 in U.S. Ryder Cup competitions. I think it is a big spot for him. And like I mentioned, I think the bottom half of this European team certainly has some question marks with both form and experience on U.S. soil. And if Fitzpatrick is able to shore that up a little bit and give Luke Donald maybe a couple more options the first 2 days of the competition, I think it honestly could go a very long way for them.
For sure. One thing we wanted to do here is power rank the 24 players on both teams. I thought this would be something interesting to do, simply to see how many of the Europeans are on the top part of this and maybe how many are on the bottom part of this, because I think your point is valid in terms of the rankings, right? You say in the front end of the Europeans is solid, maybe the back end not so much. I've kind of leaned heavily on that in terms of the American players. So did you write down your 24? You got your 24 dialed?
I've got 24, but I tiered them a little bit, but I can turn them into rankings.
That's fine. Let me just read my top 5 here. I'll roll out my top 5 power rankings of all 24, and these are mixed and matched. Doesn't matter what team you're on. I included records at the Ryder Cup, current form, expectation, course fit, experience, all those things, right? It's not just simply who's the best golfer in the world right now. It's the best players at a Ryder Cup in this format and all that stuff. So my number 1, Scotty Scheffler. I'm assuming he's probably atop your list as well.
He is. Yep.
Yeah. So I got Scotty 1, Rory 2, Rahm 3, Fleetwood 4, and Patrick Cantlay 5. Those are my top 5.
You've got Cantlay up to 5. Okay.
Yeah, I just like Cantlay. He's been playing some pretty solid golf as of late, and it's still, like, I look at the Ryder Cup records. I mean, you look at some of these players in Ryder Cups, they weren't always the best golfers in the world, but they were the best golfers at Ryder Cups. Sergio, 25, 13, and 7. Lee Westwood, 3rd all-time in terms of points. Colin Montgomery, Nick Faldo, Lanny Watkins, Tom Kite, all up there really, really high It's important to play well in Ryder Cups, and Cantlay is the American version of that. So he's my number 5.
Okay, my top 5. I'm going to order these on the fly. Scotty Scheffler, best player in the world. First time he's coming with a putter in hand, also two on home soil like that. He'll be 1. Rory will be 2. I think he has the most pressure on him. Just talking that talk after Bethpage Black, obviously, or after Marco Simone, and saying he had three goals remaining in his career: the Masters, an Olympic medal, and winning on U.S. soil. So this feels like the best chance for him, and that's obviously a lot of pressure. I'm going to throw Rahm in there. I'm going to throw Fleetwood in there.
We have the top 3. You and I have the top 4 the same right now.
Yes, and number 5, I'm going to put Bryson in there just because I do have high expectations for him, and he's the best driver in this competition as things stand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there as well. I had Bryson 6. I had Cantlay just above him at 5. I'll roll through 10 here. I got Bryson 6, Rose at 7. Just experience, playing some decent golf as of late. I just think Justin Rose understands this is his last opportunity to probably make a team like this, last chance to make an impact. And I think a lot of what you said, right? I mean, Justin Rose is a player that has shown up on American soil and pulled off a victory, an unlikely victory at that. I have Russell Henley at 8.
Let's go, man.
I think Russell Henley's playing awesome golf. I mean, he's the guy you want to play alongside if it's not Scotty Scheffler. Ludwig at 9, great course fit, I think, in terms of Bethpage Black. And I got Tyrrell Hatton at my 10 position.
Okay. I have House Tyrrell as well, but I have him at number 6.
Wow.
I expect big things from Tyrrell. I expect him to be with that angry group, him and John Rahm, just marching around together there. And so he's 6. And then I've coupled Xander and Cantlay at 7 and 8. Interchangeable, really, in my mind, but probably give Cantlay the nod just because of that history, like you mentioned. It always seems to make the big putt when needed. So those are 7 and 8. I'm going to throw Justin Thomas at 9 right now. Just because the putter was so good this year. And I think with the course setup, his waywardness off the tee, he'll be able to get away with it a lot more than, say, the major championship venues, obviously, where it's super penal off the tee. So I've got him at 9. And then number 10, I think I got to put Rosie there, like you mentioned. He's 7-2-1 in foursomes, which he did not play in Rome either. That's so interesting to see what they do with him. He was on with Sky Sports after he made the team, saying he'd like to go at least 4. He sounds a lot more confident than he did back in 2023. So I hope they trot him out because, like you mentioned, it could be his last Ryder Cup.
Likely his last one. I like where you're at here. The one reason, and I'll get to JT in a second, the one reason I put JT a little lower is just simply the driver. It's a golf course that's going to play long. It is, and you're going to hit a lot of drivers around Bethpage Black, and that is the part of his game that he has really struggled with. And we have seen it in major championship venues, as you mentioned, the struggle since his PGA win. This is a major championship venue, right? I mean, Bethpage is definitely that. 11, I had Hovland. 12, I got Cam Young.
Yeah.
Just again, I just think this is a perfect golf course for Cam Young. Knows it well, has played it before, has been playing some of the best golf of all the 24 names we've been talking about and we're going to talk about. I like him. I think he's one of those guys, if you're a gambler, I think Cam Young is a sneaky pick for most points across the board. I'm sure you'd get a great value in that. I got JT 13. I wanted to go Xander in the middle because I got no clue with Xander, right? I think Xander could have an excellent Ryder Cup and play great. And I think Xander could kind of go through his motions like we've seen most of 2025. And I got Bobby Mack at 15. Bobby Mack, put him at 15, going out with Rosie Baby. We'll see what those two do. But that kind of rounds out 11 through 15 for me.
Okay. I'm hopefully not going to get lost in the rankings here because now it's getting a little muddy. For me, 11 and 12, I'm keeping them coupled together. The Vikings, Hovland, I'm going to give the nod over Ludwig just a little bit, but obviously great together playing foursomes. The question with Ludwig, his form's really turned around, I feel like, ever since the Scottish Open and so forth. Can he do it in a hostile environment? First time on the road for him. And then for Hovland, it's really, is the driver going to be in a good spot? But you think about Ludwig's driver with Hovland's iron play. Hovland's been the second best iron player behind only Scheffler this year. And you look at who Hovland played with. He played all 5 at Whistling Straits. Not well, but played with Bernd Wiesberger, Paul Casey, and Tommy Fleetwood as well. So,
jeez,
yeah,
he played with the Wiesberger and Paul Casey as he was like wrapping up the latest run before Live. That's crazy.
no, I cannot imagine a lot of people can name all 12 players on that 2021 European Ryder Cup team. Yeah. So that
a little different than this crew, by the way.
It's crazy how quickly they just completely flipped the page on the entire generation. Right.
Well, I mean, think about the American team there.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not that long ago. I mean, this is DJ went 5-0, right? That was the 5-0 DJ Ryder Cup. Koepka was there as well. Obviously, Spieth's hitting the crazy shot where he almost ran into the lake. I mean, this team and those three players, and I mentioned this, I did an HQ hit earlier today. It is so wild to think those three guys are not on this team, considering what they did at Whistling Straits, which was not that long ago. Obviously, last American Ryder Cup matchup. And what they did at Bethpage Black. I think those three finished top three, didn't they, on the leaderboard?
I think you're right, yeah.
And they're not to be seen on the American team, and they're replaced with Ben Griffin and JJ Spawn. And it's just so wild to think the flip over and the change, the assumptions you have with these Ryder Cup teams. Obviously, Max Homa has been so great in the Ryder Cups, not on the team, right? This might be the biggest change year to year in sport in terms of what teams look like.
Yeah,
because you expect who's going to make the roster when you lay it out in earlier in the year, and then you see who's actually on it, and it almost never matches up that way.
Yeah, people thought that U.S. team would be dominant for the next decade.
Yeah,
and it's like not so fast, my friend. Shout out to the Great League course. So I'm at 13 now. That feels like a Russell Henley spot for me. I think he's going to be a great foursomes partner for Scheffler. I think they might throw Burns with Scheffler for 4-ball if I had to guess. 14, I'm going to roll with Cameron Young as well. I totally agree with you. I think he's like 20, 22 to 1 at Open for the most points in the competition, which you got to love. I think
throw 50 on it if you got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm
50
not going to tell you to
units.
gamble. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you to gamble. Put all your units on
50
Everything
units
you got.
minimum.
Rent is overrated. You know what I'm saying?
And then you had Bobby Mack at 15. I think that's probably fair. Luke Donald sounded very confident with Bobby Mack today, saying he's a much better player than he was a couple years ago. He's obviously won a couple times on the PGA Tour. He's contended in major championships. But pretty similar to Ludwig, can he do it in a hostile environment? If drones are getting to Bobby Mack in Canada, I can't imagine what some drunk New Yorkers will do to him. So he is 15 for me.
Yeah, 2-0-1 in his very, very early Ryder Cup tenure, if you will. So impressive, even though he has obviously changed a little bit in terms of who he is as a player. I'll just take a 16 through 20, and then we can round out the last four. I got JJ Spawn at 16. Obviously, we don't know, but he's played awesome golf this year. Probably unfair to have him this low on the sheet, but again, a little bit of undecided in terms of what we're expecting to see here. I got Rasmus Højgaard at 17.
Wow.
I think Rasmus is finding form, and I expect the European rookies just aren't scared of this event. They just haven't been historically. Harris English at 18, Burns at 19, and Benny G, if you will. Give the guy a sax. Benny G at 20 is my 20, meaning I got four names left.
Okay, 16 for me will be Benny G, Ben Griffey Jr., big hitter, shades on, maybe backwards hat as well, hitting the first.
Ben Griffey Jr.
I wouldn't be surprised. He third best player on the U.S. over the last 3 months, behind only Scheffler and Henley. Seems like he has a little moxie to him to like the stage. Yep. So he's at 16, 17. I agree. JJ Spawn, I think he could be a diabolical foursomes player. Just fairway green. Just
who's he play with? We talked about this last week. Is there somebody you're feeling him out with?
We talked a little Ben Griffey, Ben Griffey with him.
A couple rookies and Rockham. Let's go.
Yeah, and Spawn wears sunglasses too. So there you go.
Different golf ball, same glasses. I like that.
Yeah. Max Fly. That'll be interesting. That's a true game within the game. Who's going to play the 100%. Max Fly? So that's 16, 17, 18. I'm going to say Morikawa. I know it has not been good. He is, I believe, on Data Golf, the worst American player as it stands. Could be wrong about that, but I believe that he's like in the late 20s, mid 20s sort of right now on Data Golf. But still, second best from tee to green, going to be the second best iron player on this American team. I think he can hit the shots, Shane. I don't know if he can make the putts. That is obviously
But
big
it's
question.
the iron play, right? It's the
Yeah.
iron play.
Yeah. It's his iron play. It's got to improve. And then I'm going to say Burns, just because of that putter of his. I could see, maybe he gets Morikawa again like they were in Rome, but he brought a little heat to the team.
Yeah.
I thought, and this is the part where I'm getting lost in the rankings currently. I believe
You're always getting lost in the rankings.
Who in the Europe? I'm going to say Fitzpatrick.
What number is this, 20?
That's a great question. I believe it is 20. So obviously horrible form in U.S. Ryder Cups, but I think the play will outweigh the previous form.
So I have Fitzy at 21, kind of same thing. Obviously the record's the record, but he has been playing some very good golf, and he's driving the golf ball well enough. I mean, obviously we talked so much about the distance pickup when he won the U.S. Open in Boston. That remains to be the case. He's not a really short hitter. He's very middle of the pack in terms of professional golf. He can hit it plenty far enough, if you will. I got Colin at 22. Just think he's playing bad golf, and it's not exactly the best course fit. That being said, you pair him up with a great driver of the golf ball, Colin could light this place aflame if he's dialed in. The iron play is just that elite. I got Sepp at 23 and Lowry at 24, which speaks a little bit to what you said, Patrick, off the top, is the bottom of this team isn't great. 3 of the bottom 4 for me are European players, and 3 of the bottom 4 European players with experience. So, I mean, Sepp has not played great. Shane Lowry's not played great as of late, and so they'll have to show some level of form. The irony there is 23 and 24, I believe, were paired together last time they had a Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they do. But those are my 24.
Pretty similar for me. I have Harris English at 21. Just not a ton of experience. He was 1 and 2 at Whistling Straits. Played with Tony Finau too in that Ryder Cup. So not really sure what his role is really going to be. I think that that's a bit of a question mark. And then I have Højgaard at 22, first appearance, rookie. His Ryder Cup points might need to be audited, but like you mentioned, playing a lot better golf on the DP World Tour after a pretty poor rookie season on the PGA Tour. I'm going to go with Shane at 23.
Me or Lowry?
That's up for debate.
Okay.
That's up for debate. We'll see.
I don't think I'm in the top 20.
We'll see what your game's like. And then I'm going to go Sepp at 24. But, I mean, we're kind of picking hairs at that point. I think those guys are the bottom 2, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting. You and I laid out 24, and they're pretty similar. I don't think there was anybody massively off our line. I mean, we'd have to write them all down and put them on the screen, which would probably take up the entire screen and probably more. I'm not going to make Josh do that. But, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The top end looked very similar, and the bottom end looked very similar when you start to dive into these numbers and experience. Producer Josh, by the way, said JT and Spawn and 4-ball could be kind of fun. I don't hate that.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of sexy, if you will.
Ooh.
I do think those two dudes are tough. They could be tough together. And by the way, why do we start saying sexy with sports? I feel like that's been something we've leaned heavily into over the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, I don't know. It's is that allowed on TV? You know who
bleep it
loves
out.
sexy is Mark Emmelman. He does it
Oh,
all the
is
time.
he?
He's
Okay.
like, oh, that is downright sexy, Jim.
Yeah.
So, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark. Behave yourself, young man.
Credit Mark Emmelman. The Press Box Pod always talks about words that only sportscasters and sports people say, like penultimate. And that might be one as well when you talk about somebody that's sexy about their sporting game. But that is that. Yeah, so that's the 24. Last thing I want to get to, Patrick, is who wins this thing. I mean, we'll do some previewing around the Ryder Cup, but as of now, are you still firmly on Team USA? You still think they get it done?
I'm going to lean with U.S. Yes, I think the depth will prevail over the big boys of Europe.
By the way, did we have any sort of a big boy barometer? Big boy barometer ranking, anything like that? I don't think we got to it.
I do have the big boy barometer, but we
got to get to that before we go.
I was talking to Josh, and I think it might need to be renamed just because I don't know if I can be saying little boys on air or small boys on air, technically.
Probably
so maybe like the dogs,
especially since we just talked about sexy. We probably can't roll that into that. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, we'll get flagged for sure. Maybe like the dog scale. You go big dogs, puppies, and like yappers, like those little yappy dogs. So the current tiers, top tier, the big dogs. I have Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau on the U.S. And then I have Rory, Rahm, Fleetwood, and I threw Hatton in there for Europe as well.
Okay.
Just because those four, I think you got those two partnerships with Rory and Fleetwood and Rahm and Hatton. And then here's really where the depth of the U.S. team comes alive, Shane, really shines through, is in the dog tier. I have the rest of the team.
Is this DAWG or DOG? What are we going here?
We can do DAWG.
Okay, sweet.
So
these are just the dogs. These are the dogs.
So
they're not big dogs.
Yeah, big dogs, obviously, that means you've been there, you've done that, you're confident with them coming down the stretch. The dogs, they've either have been there and done that and might have questionable form, or they have great form. You're confident in them, but you haven't really seen it from them before in the Ryder Cup. Okay. So I have 10 U.S. players in that category.
Okay.
And then I have Robert McIntyre, Justin Rose, Ludwig Hovland, and Fitzpatrick also in that category.
Okay.
Which leads us finally to the puppies. Actually, there's two more categories. Shame on me. Puppies, yet to prove it in the Ryder Cup.
By the way, real quick, did you get lost in? You've now only got lost in the rankings, but now you've gotten lost in the dog rankings.
I drove 5 hours this morning, Shane.
Listen,
I'm losing.
We
got to
get you dialed on the rankings and the dog rankings, but it's okay. There's a lot of different types of species of dog. Like the breeds are all over the place, so we're good.
Exactly. Shout out to Michael Breed. So the puppy tier have yet to prove it in the Ryder Cup in questionable form. Sepp Straka, Rasmus Højgaard, and then finally the yapper. You know, those yapping dogs who are annoying. You kind of want to kick them, but it's not.
Everybody's grandmother has one.
Not really allowed. They bring them everywhere. People who are walking, they put them in strollers. They're not even walking the dog. It's a stroller dog. That's Shane Lowry for me at this point.
Wow. He's going to be yapping. I can promise you that. He'll be yapping about something.
So those are formerly known as the Big Boy Barometer, now known as the Dog Pound. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The Russell Henley fan club. Like we'll figure something out before we get to Bethpage. But you're going Team USA. I'm still going to lean Europe. I think Europe gets this done. I think they are, to me, a little bit of what they're not to the level of the Whistling Straits American team, but I think they're pretty close. And they're going to be a really, really tough out considering some of those natural pairings we talked about off the bat and the leaders we have on their side. The big dogs, if you will, with Rory and Rahm. I think they're excited about this. Plus, you got a lot of veteran presence. You got the captains. I think the captain in the team room favors heavily on the European side with Eduardo and with everything Keegan's had to do. I don't know what kind of captain he's going to be. I'm sure he'll be fine, but I still lean Luke Donald and the experience there with Molinari and that whole team kind of backing him up. But there you go. We got all 24. We ranked them. We are set for the Ryder Cup. I know it's exciting. It's coming up very, very soon. And we'll be looking forward to it. I believe you're going to be there. I'm going to be there. We're going to be there. Something like that. I
think we're going to hang out, Shane, whether you like it or not.
You and I are hanging out in like a week to play some golf as well. So excited about that. If you like the show, I hope you do. If you're watching to this point, you probably do that or you hate us. Either way, we appreciate it. You can like, subscribe, smash all the buttons on your computer all at the same time, kind of like my 3-year-old does. And we'll be back with you guys next week to talk a little bit more golf, probably talk a little bit more Ryder Cup. And see where we're at as we get set for what I think is probably the second best week in all of golf outside of Augusta National.